fair, if you can call it that. Actually, just the other weekend, I went to a Civil War reenactment since it's a 150th anniversary of the first battle of the Civil War. So I had to go. I mean, living in the area, growing up in California, it's funny to see how much of the history is actually here, whereas it was always just in my textbooks.
Oh, yeah.
As a little kid.
Definitely.
So I am really enjoying to see that in person.
Yeah, no, definitely DC is full of its history. That's the good thing about, I guess, the DMV area, museums. I mean, what's the most interesting, I guess, aspect of the food world that you found coming from the West Coast?
You really have to pay attention to the seasons here. Growing up in California, we get sunshine almost 365. Well, maybe not Northern California, but produce is readily available all year round. Here on the East Coast, we actually have seasons. And so, you know, tomatoes this is the time to really take advantage of tomatoes. This is the time to take advantage of, I just got this gorgeous basil and mint and rosemary from my friend's garden last night. So we'll be enjoying that. And that's one thing, again, I love about quinoa is you can just pair it with anything and everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was noting in my recipes earlier, that it's pretty much a free-for-all. Whatever you have in your, your pantry and your refrigerator, feel free to add it. And it looks like that is a plethora of great things like that I need to add to my refrigerator. Now, what do you find, because gardening, like you said, your friend has a garden in DC. I find that that's becoming quite a trend around here. And, more people are having pretty much either these local gardens that they belong to or a garden right in their backyard. What is one of the major trends that you have seen as you've moved to the district and from the West Coast? Like, what's the trend that you see? I guess maybe on both coasts. What would you say?
I really like this local food movement, and that while in the 80s it was about all these outlandish techniques and rare ingredients. Here it's just about simple but good. I mean, I think some of the best dishes are 3 ingredients or less, but it's the freshest ingredients you can get.
Exactly. That's so funny you just said that, because I just actually made a fruit salad that had just strawberries, mangoes, and a little bit of coconut milk and the quinoa.
Beautiful.
And it was simple, easy. So now we can transition over here to our pan. It's really hot, so I'm just going to back away.
Perfect. Yes, back away. And put it in slowly.
Yes. You can hear that sizzle in that pot there. Look at those and all those peppers and already made for you, pretty much pre-made. So now you have over here some fresh tomatoes and mushrooms and
maybe not so fresh as much as I want to be fresh. I'm also a very busy person, so thankfully Trader Joe's offers some alternatives. So we have some pre-made pre-cut onions, garlic and shallots, and some sliced mushrooms. But shallots are something I try to at least combine in my cooking. I mean, if there's nothing else, it just gives that fresh flavor that I think it's a secret a lot of restaurants. I
love shallots. They definitely add just the right amount of flavor that you want on your food. And then I like those pre-packaged deals, because when you're really in a rush, they help to, I guess, trim down some of the time that you have to spend in the kitchen, because, as you know, a lot of Washingtonians are working people. Yes. So
working a lot.
It's like working long hours. So, but you do want to cook, fresh ingredients when you come home, and it is nice to come home and just, some of the cooking time can be cut down, especially when you have ingredients like this chicken sausage here that already has some of the spices in it. And, then you can spend more time with things like the fresh tomatoes or the basil or the mint that you mentioned over there. So I'm just going to check on the quinoa. Now, what are some other recipes that you find that that you've used with quinoa? Anything easy or, quick that you could share with us today?
Yes, actually, my roommate just recently did a version of potato salad, but using quinoa.
Ooh, that sounds so
Yes,
good.
he's actually vegan, and he used instead of normal mayonnaise, he used veganese,
Okay.
and just some fresh onions, cucumber. We get the veganese, and
That's coming on the next show.
Oh, excellent!
No, I'm like, I really need to. I want to try that. That sounds so good. With
Oh, it was really good.
with the mayonnaise and the fresh cucumbers. Oh, that sounds amazing. And what type of spices?
He used actually cumin.
Okay.
To give it a little heat, even though
Okay.
it's a very cool dish. Definitely the salt and pepper. But it's pretty simple. But again, using fresh ingredients.
Okay.
They just added plenty to the dish.
Oh, excellent. Anything else that you experimented with in the kitchen?
I would say, oh gosh, I hadn't even thought about using the fruit. I thought that's a really good idea. But I'd say like any salad that I would make at home, adding quinoa is just an excellent addition, or it could be a great base.
Okay.
Like in this.
Now, as far as you said, you mentioned that you definitely travel a lot, and I know that because I hear about all your travels. What would you say is the place that you travel to that has been the most influential on your cooking techniques, maybe seasonings you use, or just something, a place that you went and you were just like, you left feeling like, I want to make this all the time?
Oh. I'd say there are a couple of places. One is Mexico in the Yucatan Peninsula, where I actually do some volunteer work at a clinic in Playa del Carmen.
Okay.
And there's actually a culinary center in Cancun, which is where you fly into. And sometimes I'll want a few aren't in our days while I'm there. So I will go to there's a culinary center. It's located just on the beach at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. And so I don't stay at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, but I do take a class or two whenever I can. And so I'm getting great techniques on not just drinking, but Italian cooking, Mexican cooking. And there's another place that I go to in Tulum where the chef used old Mayan recipes to share with its guests. And I think knowing that my group and I, we have, we love indigenous foods.
Okay.
So that, so that really taught me about a lot of interesting spices and old techniques. And
Now, other than that, have you ever had any other formalized training, or?
No.
What's your take on that? Formalized versus the home cook.
I've taken classes. Don't get me wrong. In fact, here in D.C., I've taken a class at Hill's Kitchen in Capitol Hill, which is fantastic. I learned my knife skills, although I'm not doing a very good job right now.
The tomatoes are messy.
The tomatoes are, and they're super fresh. And I actually really wanted, I got these at the farmer's market, and I deliberately wanted some super juicy tomatoes because they'll add as a sauce for the quinoa. Which is why I'm using the groove side of this cutting board.
Yeah, no, often I get on TV and I do not show my knife cutting skills in the best light. That's why I try to leave out who taught me these skills, because I'm like, oh, they're going to be quite embarrassed. Like, wow, Johnna doesn't know how to cut. But typically, the thing is, though, when you're at home cooking and you're cutting, it's totally different than when you're, on a show or you're in a competition, for knife skills. When you're home, you're just really trying to get the job done.
Yes,
just to get it in there.
Right.
So I'm definitely, with you on the knife skills. Now this chicken looks like it is browning perfectly.
Great, and that would go very well into. Let's see, we want to put that on the side.
Okay.
If we had that plate.
Okay. Do we want to? Okay. Wait.
We can put that on a. Oh, I meant to put that in a bowl, but I'm pre-doing the. Actually, you know what we can do is. Oh, they're good. Those are not too well done. So
No,
we
not
can
at all.
start putting the onions in.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Then I'll add those too.
Oh.
Perfect.
Let's go ahead.
I'm just going to sprinkle these in, and this is, again, these are onions, shallots, a little bit of garlic in here. What would you say, maybe measure-wise, maybe about
That's
a fourth
8
a cup?
ounces.
Oh, okay, 8 ounces. Okay, so a cup of all of those combined, and it looks like I'm just roughly taking a guesstimate about the garlic, that maybe that's like 2 tablespoons of garlic. If you wanted to do it fresh at home versus taking the quick route, which is, I suggest, you know, after a long day of working or doing whatever, it's quicker to do it this way. But if you want to take the longer route, then maybe about 2 tablespoons of the garlic and maybe
cloves.
about a fourth a cup of the onions, finely chopped, diced, and then the shallots.
Yes.
So I'm going to combine all of that in there, and it just smells delicious already. I'm ready. I could eat this by itself.
I know, really.
So, yeah, so, okay, and what was the second place? You said, in addition to Mexico, what was another place that you mentioned that you traveled to that has influenced your cooking?
Well, it's funny that we're doing the show on quinoa today, but I'd say Peru.
Oh, yes, Peruvian cuisine. Yes.
Yes, and in fact, that's where I was first introduced to quinoa. I was hiking in the Andes Mountains.
Okay.
And there was this, the natives there are called Quechua. And there was this family in there in some small town up in the hills. They're not hills, these are mountains, mega mountains. And they were, they were cooking on this big pot outside with a big flame. And they, you know, of course, I'm very curious, although they are so indigenous there that they actually don't speak Spanish. But luckily, one of my guides was versed in Quechuan, and they said, "Oh, you know, they're making this dish." It was a big pot of soup with quinoa, of course. Some kind of stock. I think it was mostly lamb in their dish, and whatever vegetables they had, either growing in their garden there or in the market that was available once a week in Cusco.
Okay.
Which is
that sounds amazing. Now, do you find that there's a lot of Peruvian restaurants or cuisines where you can dine out in D.C. or, I mean, because I feel like I've seen a few, but not. It's not, maybe a handful.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised because Peruvian food is so good. I'm actually quite surprised that there aren't as many. I mean, this is actually the first area I've seen where actually there's Peruvian chicken. That's something I wasn't in Peru very long, but I love Peruvian chicken here, and I'm so glad to have been introduced to it. But capture all the juices
Oh,
I
yes,
can.
all those juices get in there.
Although most of it's on the table here.
Those were like the juiciest tomatoes.
They were. In fact, I would probably even try to squeeze them while we're here.
No, they look
now
amazing.
that the onions are translucent, it's a good time to add
The mushrooms.
mushrooms.
Perfect. I'm just going to dump those in there.
Okay. And while you do that, I'm going to squeeze the tomatoes just to grab some more of the juice.
Yes. And then I guess that'll serve as like a sauce for the quinoa.
Yes.
Which probably is almost done because we've had it boiling in here for a while now. But I'm going to go ahead and get these mushrooms in here and sauteed and get them pretty much, I guess not brown, but we want them to soften up a little bit because they came in a hard texture. But this is amazing. This is almost like it's almost like taking out the pasta noodles, the spaghetti noodles, and putting in the quinoa, so that way you can save in some of those carb calories.
Yes.
That's the great thing about it.
Yes.
So I'm just going to fluff this. Oh yeah, this
that
is
looks
ready. Yes,
great.
it looks amazing.
Which is great because we are almost done with our dish.
Just fluff that up. And normally I would use a fork here, but whatever you have on hand, you can just
all the tools that you need.
Exactly. All the tools that you can get your hands on, you will use. So,
We're going to add the tomatoes.
Okay, so do you want to add those to the quinoa
No,
or
we're going
the?
to add that to the
Perfect.
saute blend.
All
Because
right.
then while that happens,
Now look
we
at
can
that.
let the
It
flavors
looks
meld a little bit.
amazing.
And
Gonna all that red in there,
yes.
and I can just fold that in there. Oh my gosh, it smells even better now.
Oh,
The
speaking
tomatoes.
of smells. Johnna, smell this.
My gosh. I'm like, I need that.
Oh my, yes. My friend happens to be growing. She's got these bushes of herbs in her backyard.
And so she just, I mean, does she need an extra friend?
I know, really.
Because I need to come over and get some of those fresh herbs. That's
I
the
would
problem I
recommend that.
have. I find it very difficult to grow or maintain any plants or anything in the area, only because, like you said, the temperatures tend to change a little too fast for me to get a hold of what, I guess when it gets cold, I'm a little less inclined to go outside and check on the plants properly.
Really
and I don't want to
important.
do anything to damage them. I don't want to keep buying them and damaging them. So I try to stay away from planting my own herbs, but I love to hear when other people do it. I'm just like, how do they do it in this area?
That is a skill that, yes, I will leave to the talented.
It's like, do you have any tips for, growing or maintaining herbs, even when you don't grow them, but keeping them in your house?
I think it takes time and care. And so just being conscious of that. That even if you go away, having someone come by and take care of them like you would a pet. Just make sure they get the water. And I'm a firm believer of the music or talking to plants